Okay, welcome back again, y'all. So now we are on chapter 9, which is Can We Communicate with the Dead? And I've basically summarised a book by Dr. Carol Wickland, which was published in 1924, which is called 30 Years Among the Dead. So, chapter 9, Can We Communicate with the Dead? Psychiatrist Carol Wickland and his wife, who he pimped out as a psychic conduit for the alleged dead, were convinced we can. Thus, Mrs. Wickland would enter an unconscious trance and allow spirits to take temporary but complete possession of her body. Dr. Wickland then interviewed the presenting spirit or personality. When taken over by another consciousness, Mrs. Wickland used expressions that she'd never used before, and spoke foreign languages that were totally unknown to her. Like on one occasion, she conversed in Spanish, yet she didn't know Spanish. She mediated for hundreds of spirits. She was like a drop-in centre. Dr. Wickland recognised the interrelationship of the physical world and the spiritual world, and he agreed with scripture that we have a natural body and a spirit body. He advised that humanity is surrounded by the thought influence of millions of disincarnate beings. These spirits are behind the madness. Dr. Wickland notably cites Dr. Thomas J. Hudson, author of The Law of Psychic Phenomena, who said, "The man who denies the phenomena of spiritualism today is not entitled to be called a skeptic. He is simply ignorant." Dr. Wickland highlights that psychoanalysts are loath to accept the hypothesis of disincarnate entities and instead advance theories that psychoses have their origin in some psychic tissue or trauma that is concealed or forgotten. Modern psychologists disclaim the possibility of foreign intelligences and instead refer to dissociative states of consciousness like DID. On the contrary, Dr. Wickland insisted spirits are behind the voices that people hear and the ghosts people see. He cured countless otherwise mad people, but rather than demons impersonating the dead, Wickland believed that these were spirits of the dead. Trusty Wickland trusted what the spirits told him, which includes that the Bible isn't true. He believed that when people cross over, many don't realise they've died. They're in a state of bewilderment, which is hardly surprising given the materialist narrative, and so they become earthbound spirits. These spirits then attach themselves to mortals, causing them all kinds of problems. Not all spirits are, however, merely ignorant, as there's malevolent spirits who get off on our pain. Like they might tell us to kill ourselves or others, and they laugh about it afterwards. Dr. Wickland also recognised that occult practices like the Ouija board and divination invited possession. He spoke about people going from polite and pious to raucous and off-the-charts mental. Thus, the Wickland's method was to detach the possessing entity using low-voltage electric shocks from the deranged person to Mrs. Wickland. Dr. Wickland would then endeavour to make the spirit realise its spirit condition. He would get them to wake up and smell the proverbial coffee. He would point out that they were in Mrs. Wickland's body with her hands and feet. Sometimes he held a mirror up to them because they flatly refused to believe they were dead, or perhaps the spirits were having a laugh at his expense. Presumably, Dr. Wickland trusted the spirits because the information they provided checked out, like they were a 6-year-old girl called Isabelle who fell out her bedroom window and died in 1912, and she lived on 9 Love Street, and loved playing with her dollies and her friend Amy. It didn't seem to occur to Dr. Wickland that demons know everything about us because they're watching us 24/7. Hence, psychics and mediums can tell us things about our lives that are true. It seems Dr. Wickland was duped. Interestingly, one of the spirits who conversed through Mrs. Wickland was none other than Madame Helena Blavatsky, and interestingly, she denounced what she taught when she was alive, namely reincarnation. She admitted she was wrong. She advised that people wrongly believe they've been reincarnated because spirits make them think that. They've been incorrectly taught. Indeed, possessing spirits can make us believe all kinds of tosh, like we're Napoleon. But the spirit of Blavatsky was clear. We don't come back once we've crossed over. We go to the spirit world, which is a whole new ball game. Okay, that's chapter 9, and we will go on to chapter 10.